Look at them as they fly over the American West, a picture of precision that brings a feeling of pride and admiration to every American. That, in fact, is their mission: to enhance Navy recruiting and to represent the Navy to the public, government leaders, and America's friends and enemies around the world. It's a huge responsibility on just 16 officers and 110 enlisted personnel who make up the Blue Angel Squadron. That's especially true for number one, the boss, who both leads the flight and is commanding officer of the squadron. But it's also true for numbers 2 through 7, who must all be carrier qualified with a minimum of 1,500 flight hours. Each officer volunteers for Blue Angels duty.
Everybody that comes here to the Blue Angels comes from fleet activities. Any sailor in the fleet could qualify to become a Blue Angel. We like to see top-notch sailors, of course, and there's an extensive screening process that goes on. But we like to think that the quality sailor we have here at the Blue Angels represents the same quality sailor we've got in the fleet.
I've never been scared flying a Blue Angel aircraft because it's the type of environment where you do the same thing every day, day in and day out, and you have control over your surroundings. You have control over your aircraft and what you do with it. You don't always have control over an aircraft carrier and the environmental surroundings. So the experience you get and the ability you have to cope with the changing environment on an aircraft carrier, I think make you a better aviator, and being a better aviator makes you a better Blue Angel pilot.
Now, being a Marine pilot here on the team is really quite a lot of fun. So I represent the Marine Corps and all the pilots that are out there right now doing their job in the fleet.
Those of us that are flying these blue jets and wearing these blue suits are lucky to be doing this, and there's a lot of guys out there that can do the same job we do.
Working aboard the carrier is truly exciting.
This squadron is a little bit unique. The enlisted have primarily total responsibility for the aircraft. In fleet squadrons, airplanes are prepared by the maintenance crew, checked over by pilots before they actually man them up. We have such a special trust and confidence in our enlisted folks here in the Blue Angels that pre-flight inspections by pilots prior to flight is not done. These crew chiefs do everything but actually take the airplanes off. They're taxi qualified, they turn the airplanes up, they do everything but fly the airplane here at the Blue Angels. We're kind of proud of them.
There's 2 crew chiefs assigned to each aircraft and a pilot. Basically, you work for your pilot. He expects you to set up his cockpit the way he wants to fly. Everybody flies a little different way. And as far as the ground maintenance is concerned, it's pretty much no different than the actual fleet plane captain. But like I said, the responsibility is so much more. You're getting in there, your turn called on the aircraft. You're all checked out on the systems. When the pilot goes to get into his aircraft, he doesn't walk around like a normal fleet pilot. They get the chance to go and walk around and check out their systems and in their own mind make sure that it's done. Our pilots don't get a chance to do that. That's why the majority of the people are senior, second, first class petty officers. Nothing a chance, really. That's how they got it set up here.
As an aviation electrician, my job consists of the flight control systems, the navigational systems, and considering I'm in the Blue Angels, I also deal with the radar and ComNav just a little bit, not that much.
As a crew chief, you're responsible for the overall airworthiness of the jet itself, and you're backed by about 60 maintenance people in the team. So my job is to come out, turn the jet, turn the systems on, make sure all the systems work like they're supposed to. And if there is a problem, then I get with the rest of the maintenance people to get it fixed, and then it's ready to fly. My last duty station was USS Forrestal, and we never get the opportunity to work with airplanes as ASs in the regular fleet. So with this job here, it's given me an insight into what my gear does for the squadron and the purpose of it. A lot better perspective of that.
It's one of the best jobs I've ever had. I've been in the Navy 10 years, and I wouldn't want to be any other place, really. It's been great to me. The opportunities are always there. My normal rate is a parachute rigger, and they gave me the opportunity to be a crew chief. So everything's worked out well, and I think everybody feels that way. It's a big team effort. Everybody works together, and that's the way it is.
Their efforts are all directed at this: one of the 33 shows performed every year throughout the United States between March and November. In 1996, the Blue Angels brought out more than 6 million spectators, and altogether, the team has thrilled more than 276 million people since 1946.
Inside the cockpit of one of our aircraft, or any naval jet aircraft, there are moments of very docile activity, just much like flying in an airliner. That can soon turn into incredible violence inside the cockpit. Our bodies go through gravitational forces up to approximately 8 times the pull of normal gravity. In order to do that, we've got to stay in top physical condition. So it's very important that each one of us be mentally prepared and physically prepared for each flight that we go up on. The F-18 has a pitch rate that's really second to none. It will turn a corner faster than just about any other airplane in the world today. We don't wear G-suits, so you got to become accustomed to the high G environment in this airplane. The high G environment is rather difficult to explain. It feels like your face is coming down towards your legs. If you're sweating at all, the sweat's pouring down your face, and it's just a matter of trying to keep all that blood up in your head to keep from passing out.
The precision, both on the ground and in the air, is symbolic of the professionalism of the entire U.S. Navy and, in a larger sense, of the United States itself. This is what's affectionately called Fat Albert Airlines. It's the squadron's support aircraft, a C-130 transport flown by an all-Marine Corps crew of 3 pilots and 6 enlisted personnel. The C-130 carries 25,000 pounds of equipment, 46,000 pounds of fuel, and a highly trained support staff. At a number of show sites, Fat Albert demonstrates a jet-assisted takeoff, or JATO. 8 solid-fuel rockets attached to the sides of the aircraft help Fat Albert take off in less than 1,500 feet, climb at an angle of 45 degrees, and attain an altitude of 1,000 feet in minimum time. The effect of the JATO rockets is even more spectacular at twilight or at night.
We have about 80 enlisted personnel on the team, and they all have very, very high recommendations from senior ranking officers and senior ranking enlisted personnel. They also have to work under the concept of teamwork.
These personnel are involved in maintenance, supply, public affairs, administration, an events coordination officer, and a medical department that looks after the medical needs of both officers and enlisted members.
The Blue Angel crew is 95 strong, 95 enlisted and 16 officers. And they play a large part of what goes on here for every single air show. The Blue Angel is the oldest jet team in the world. And for 43 years, this crew has never let the American public down. We performed each and every air show, never canceling one due to a maintenance problem. So the crew is largely responsible for the success of the Blue Angels.
In preparation for an air show, it's important that your concentration is 110% toward the job at hand.
When you walk out to an air show and you see 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 people waiting out there to watch you fly, and you realize you're a basic standard naval aviator. You just happen to be lucky enough to be flying a blue jet and wearing a blue flight suit. You realize that these people think you're something special.
Our air show takes about the exact same concentration required to land on the carrier, except the carrier approach only lasts about 30 to 60 seconds, and the air show lasts 45 minutes.
We can't get too distracted by outside influences. It's very important that we maintain a positive mental attitude as we climb into our airplanes. Once you get into the cockpit though, once you've shut the canopy, once you turn the engines on, and once you start taxiing, it all goes away. You don't even know there's one person on the ground.
Every maneuver that we do has its own safety valves in case something does go wrong, if I should lose my radio or have an aircraft mechanical problem. Everybody in the formation has a piece of sky that they can go to, and that's throughout the entire maneuver. There are voice procedures that allow us with very few words to get a lot of meaning out.
We're on the runway to a wind check. Maneuver, diamond burner loop to the left turnout. Smoke on. Off brakes now. Burners ready now.
Off brakes now. Burners ready now. One warning about this building. As they pass
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Since 1946, the Blue Angels have had the rare privilege of demonstrating to the American public the precision techniques of naval aviation, hoping to inspire our young men and women to pursue careers in the United States Navy and Marine Corps. You will see demonstrated here this afternoon are coordinated tactical techniques developed by Navy and Marine pilots, both in peacetime training and actual combat.
This is the diamond formation coming out of its first forward loop. Today's a good day with unlimited visibility, so the team will be able to fly a high show up to 8,000 feet. If the ceiling was 3,500 feet or less, they would fly a low show with some rolling maneuvers. really poor days, they do a flat show with no vertical or looping maneuvers.
Blue Angels are similar to any other good team with a lot of individual sacrifice and self-discipline. But not only do we learn an individual higher level of concentration, we learn to think together.
One thing you keep in your mind all the time is that no matter what you're doing, you give it your very best effort. You learn to put forth that 110% effort each and every time.
What you're seeing now is a double Farvelt, in which both the leader and the slot machine are inverted. The maneuver was named in 1962 by its inventor, Ken Wallace, after a dog in a Nestle's chocolate television commercial. The next maneuver involves two pairs of aircraft crossing the viewing area from different directions, and then snapping to the vertical with one aircraft crossing the path of the other. With 32,000 pounds of thrust, an F-18 can climb like a rocket, and that's what's being shown by this solo pilot. The climb comes out to an inverted loop, and then a beautifully controlled series of 90-degree stop rolls. An afterburning jet screaming through the sky. The jets may seem just a little cleaner, their salutes a little snappier, and their job just a little more glamorous. But they represent all the men and women of U.S. naval aviation. The most famous formations used by the team are the echelon left and diamond formation with 4 aircraft, and the Delta formation with 6. In these positions, the team can do loops and rolls, splitting at altitude into the fleur-de-lis or bomb burst. These maneuvers end with a high-speed multiple crossover at low altitude. Here's the best photo opportunity, the underside and topside of an F-18.
Okay, set to have a good one out at field number 6, huh? Oh, in case anyone's interested, Chuck and Johnny...
As in any other profession, practice makes perfect. And all the maneuvers that you learn in flight training must be developed to a state of absolute perfection. And your first reaction is, when you join the team, that it can't be done.
Watching an air show, what we do may seem quite impossible. But the reason for that is because no one individual could do it alone. However, as a team, we begin to realize that the final results can be achieved. So we subordinate ourselves, and we only think of one thing, and that's teamwork.
And here again is a solo vertical takeoff and climb with a corkscrew roll. Surprisingly, some maneuvers that look hair-raising on the ground a walk in the park for the pilots who have an entirely different perspective. Others that may look easy on the ground, such as the negative push-out on the inverted pass, are anything but easy to the men in the air. Would a pilot in combat ever do such a stunt? If you engage in dogfighting at high speeds, you have to make bigger turns. The slower your speed, the tighter your turn radius, and the more likely you are to get behind a faster opponent. Actually, of all of the aircraft the Blue Angels have ever flown, the F-18 Hornet is uniquely able to perform the maneuvers you're watching. The reason is not that the Hornet is fast, which it is, but that it's also capable of going slow, which it does. The F-18 has such a tremendous power-to-weight ratio, it's able to defy the usual rules of aerodynamics and rely on pure power alone. The McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet was developed in the late 1970s as a twin-engine, multi-mission tactical aircraft for the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps. Since it became operational in the early 1980s, over 1,300 Hornets have been delivered worldwide, even to Kuwait after its liberation. The Blue Angels fly the early A model of the aircraft. The Hornet was developed to take advantage of technologies of the future, and therefore the C model became operational in 1987 and gave the Hornet enhanced weapons and a night attack capability. Now, two real crowd pleasers. The mirror pass with one aircraft in normal flight and the other inverted, and the stack roll in which one aircraft amazingly turns into two. Our show today ends with the planes in the so-called dirty configuration with wheels down. Even with this drag, the Blue Angels can fly in diamond formation or over the top in the line abreast loop. No matter what maneuver gets the most attention, there's always something powerful or wonderful to remember.
passengers. Also another small part of the Blue Angel. The men and women in blue uniforms standing before you are members of the elite Blue Angel maintenance crew. Through hard work, many long hours, and a selfish dedication, they've each year for the past 42 years provided us with the 100% aircraft availability necessary to perform each of these demonstrations. As the aircraft landed taxi back from the runway, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the Blue Angel crew. Our maintenance chief is Gunnery Sergeant Wayne Edgar from Broadhead, Wisconsin. Crew coordinator Dennis Hendricks from Arab, Alabama. Bridging number 1, Mike Ford from Chicago, Illinois. First mate Donna Black from Overland, Missouri. Bridging number 2, Mike Carruthers from Deckerville, Michigan. First mate Trayvon Ford there. Bridging number 6, Al Flanagan from Houston, Texas. First mate John Bishop from Homedale, Pennsylvania. Bridging number 7, Don Reed from Youngstown, Ohio. Our runway alert crew is Randy Anderson from Kewanee, Pennsylvania. Matt Boyd from Fremont, California. Dennis Riley from Barbertown, Ohio. And our loadmaster is Dan Decker from Tennessee, Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, your Angel maintenance crew 1988. What's that on them? Captain, you just talked to the Angel will return to the Army Air and Home Airline. After completing a short maintenance debrief, allow one night to the ground. Any questions you might have during the transmission report.
No one leaves disappointed after watching the Blue Angels perform. Here, in one place, is the rare chance to see what civilians so rarely get a glimpse of: the defenders of our nation in their workplace.